everybody, it's Lacey. Welcome back to Paws and Paper. So today, I'm going to be playing around with some parchment paper. And this is actually a really cool tactile thing to put in your journal. I mean, these just feel awesome. And the great thing is, you can still write on this. These are totally usable journal pages. But they look really pretty. I mean, look how pretty that is. And you can still write on them. I've even tried working with some, like, these are actual glossy pages. Like, these are the originals. I got them out of, like, a Thomas Kincaid book. The really pretty pictures, but see how they're glossy? And, you know, these are the normal pictures and stuff that I don't tend to use too much in my journals because you have to do something about the gloss. You can't really use the glossy pages. Well, put some parchment paper over it, and now you have a usable page. Don't believe me? All right, well, here's my pen, just a regular old ink pen, and I am going to leave you a note, and I'm going to say, Merry Christmas to all the Paws and Paper family. Awesome, huh? I mean, seriously, that's just a regular ink pen. You can even use pencil. See? Hello. How are you? So cool. I can write, and you can still see your writing over the pages. Awesome. Okay, so let's make some of these beautiful pages today. And so I've brought along, some of the glossy pages, and I'll show you what I've been doing with those. And I have some already pre-made. And I also have just some regular text block book pages. And I also have some of the really cool antique dictionary pages. So use whatever pages you have. They can be single sheets, or they can be the sheets that are already attached together in the middle. You can see mine are all single, and I've obviously attached them with some really pretty washi tape. Okay, so let's try. I will show you the glossy ones I've already have put together, so I have a couple there. Let's just put one of these together so you can see what I do to get them put together. And now the only thing you're going to want to do is, this is very important, you have to make sure they're either small enough to already fit in your journal, because once you put these together, and you are probably going to want to sew around them, otherwise you're going to want some major glue on the edge, because you don't want your parchment paper to come loose, okay? Sewing is probably the best option, but you can really just glue down the edges super well. But once you get them done, you're not going to want to cut around them, because if you can see, I don't have all of this glued. This is all loose. We really only glue just the outside. So you're not going to want to cut these down later, because then you're going to be re-gluing and it just turns into a major mess. So, word to the wise, make sure your papers will fit into whatever journal you're doing first before you start creating these pages. Okay, so let's just work with the dictionary page here. And so what I did, I have my two separate sheets of paper, and I'm just going to attach them with some really cool washi tape. Just something that I think is kind of neat that I can still see through, because you are going to see all this through your parchment paper. And this is not wax paper, just so you know. This is called parchment paper. This is what, you know, like you would use for baking sheets and stuff. And not like the waxy. You do not want that waxy paper. Okay, and I am not reinforcing this with, you know, glue stick or anything like that. I am just putting down the washi, because it is going to get covered up. And I am going to be sewing mine, but like I said, you know, it's not absolutely necessary to sew. But you're going to want to be very diligent about gluing. Okay, so there's our binding in the middle. So now we have our 2 pages put together, and then I just kind of, you know, help fold them a little bit. You get them where the washi got them together. Kind of have to train the fold there. So let's kind of get that even, squash it down, force it to do what I want it to do. Okay, so now we have our page ready to be covered. All right, so now we're going to take some of our wax paper here, and we're going to just cover the whole thing. And this is kind of this is a little bit more of a tedious project. It's a little bit fiddly. You do have, you know, a little bit more fussing, but I think it's totally worth it. Okay, so I am going to just make sure this fits on here. And I'm going to just have to cut all the way around it. That's fine. But for the gluing, you only want to glue on your outer edges and do not glue down the spine. Your parchment paper will tend to want to stick right there, and you kind of want it to be free. So what I'm going to do is glue all the way around the top, down the side, and then back around. So see, I just made a picture frame border all the way around. And then I did put a little bit, and I'm going out from the center, just a little. I'm not on the crease. So away from the center, down, and away from the center, and down. So keep your spine free of glue. Okay, and then we're going to put this down and smash it down. Make sure we are adhered. Great to have a bone folder or something that you can really adhere this with. And this is critical for all of you who are not sewing. Glue, glue, glue. Get your edges down so that they are going nowhere. And I don't know about using like, I haven't tried this yet with like Fabrifix or anything like that. I'm just using glue stick, and any glue stick I think will work. Just really glue around the edges. And another thing, you're not going to want to do one of these numbers and fold it again. I've tried that, and you end up with a lot more wrinkles. So let's, once you got one side, cut around your page, and we will then get our other side covered. And these are cool. I mean, these can just be like an add-on to a journal, or what would be really cool, but these do take a little bit of time to make, but if you're willing to do it, to make like a whole journal out of these, wouldn't that be neat? To have these as every page in the journal. And you could have all different kinds of pages. You know, they wouldn't have to be like the same, like all dictionary pages or anything, but just like all different kinds of these parchment paper book pages. Okay, so you know, see how it's loose here? You want that. You want it to be loose like that, because when you go to fold it, it needs to have a little bit of give. So let's see, do I have enough to get? I think we could fit on there just perfect. Okay, we will get this next side glued down. So again, just around the edges, all the way around. And my glue stick is pretty thick, so I don't know if you can see. I do have about that much glue around there. So I'm not doing just the tiny bit of the outside. I do have a good amount on the sides. But I am definitely making sure I get all the way around there. But since I know I'm going to sew these, if I do miss a little bit, I'm not as worried as if I weren't going to. going to sew them. So just be aware of that. So let's get this piece right on there and smush it down. If you're one of those people who like textures, you're gonna love this book page. And these, I mean, it's not just limited to book page. You can make tags and journal cards and anything you can think of to cover in parchment paper. Same process, do the same exact thing, just make different shapes out of them. And I still think that would be so cool to have a whole journal made out of these. Just be a lot of time invested, I'm telling you. These are not a real quick idea. It takes a little bit of time to make one page. But I guess, what do they say? All good things take time. All right, there's some words of wisdom. All right, almost done here. There we go. Okay, so now we have both sides covered in our parchment. And let's get some of this stuff moved out of the way here. And now, you're going to want to, if you have a, what do they call those things? The, sorry, I moved you. You're moving again. Scoreboards or whatever. You can use those. I improvise and I use my cutting tool here, and I use the centerpiece to use as my scoreboard. So I just kind of lined it up where the center is. I use my bone folder and I create my own scoreboard here. So all you really need is a line to use for a scoreboard. That's all basically it is. So there, we've scored our paper, train it down. And here, you're going to get a little bit of wrinkling inside. That's why you do not want to glue all over. You got to give it some give, otherwise you're going to get wrinkles galore. But a little bit, you're going to have a little bit. So there is your parchment book page. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm actually going to try to take you with me today. So let's go over to the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are at my sewing machine. Now what I'm going to do, and for those of you who are going to sew, I'm going to just sew all the way around the outside, and I go back and forth with the straight and zigzag stitch. So I'm going to start on mine. I have a brother machine here. It's just the 0, and my default settings for that are 2.5 and 0. And that's important when we get to the zigzag stitch, and I'll show you why. So I'm starting at the far line in my machine here. So it's about it's about 1/4 inch in. So I'm just going to start with the straight line. Now before I get to the middle, I'm going to switch to my zigzag stitch, which is 4 on my machine. And now my top setting, because my straight line was 2.5, I'm going to change that to 2.5. And that'll keep me on my line, and then I just keep going back and forth. Back to my straight. Before I get to the end, I'm going to switch back to 4, and then 2.5, and then back to my zigzag. Okay, before I get to the corner, back to 0. And then up the side. Before we get to the top, I'll go back to 4, and you can see why this is why it takes a while. And you don't have to do this back and forth zigzag stuff. It just adds to the appeal. Okay, and then the same thing. Before I get to the middle, back to 4, and 2.5 on my zigzag. Back to straight. Before I get to the end, back to 4, 2.5, zigzag. Back to 0. And then our home stretch here. Before I get to my corner, I'll go back to my zigzag. 2.5, zigzag on down. And my final back to 0. And connect back home. All right, so there we go. And this is what we've got. So we have our zigzag straight line stitch book page. All right, let's go back to my desk. Hang on. All right, so we're back at my desk here. So there you go. That's how easy it is. And you just want to kind of retrain your pages back down. Make them all nice. But, I mean, look how pretty that looks. Super, super cute and totally usable. So I have, and these are the ones I use, like, I think they would be really awesome, you know, to have pictures behind them and everything. Like this one here has that pretty picture. And like I said, these are perfect for the glossy sheets. So I hope you guys give this one a try. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this idea, because I think this one is super cool. So I will see you guys next time. Hope you have fun making these. Bye!